All right, good evening and welcome everybody to the Village of Weberville regular council meeting. Today is March 12th, 2024. President Brad Hitchcock is absent this evening for a family matter. As pro tem, I will be running this evening's meeting. And Clerk Treasurer Jessica Cooch is also absent, so Lana Stanfield will be filling in for her, taking minutes. Roll call, please.
Schulte?
Here.
Schoenberg? Here. Stanfield? Here. Walter? Here. And Hitchcock is absent.
Awesome. Quorum is declared. All please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, for this evening's agenda, Josh, as the chairman of the WDEA, has informed me that we need to remove items number 4 and 5. So with the removal of items 4 and 5, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I second it.
Motion by Sandra, second by Deborah. Roll call, please.
Before we do a roll call, may I ask why 4 and 5 was added to our schedule to begin with?
Josh, do you want to speak on that?
Jessica did it proactively because we thought we would have everything in place to proceed with that, but we don't right now. So
Okay, but again, why was DDA added to the village council's agenda?
because you guys have to recognize resignations from the DDA board and do appointments for the DDA board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there a roll call for the motion? And Lana, please, as President Pro Tem, call me last, please.
Schulte?
Last.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I'm so used to it's right here.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Schoenberg?
Here. Yes.
Here. Yes, sorry. Walter?
Yes,
Schulte?
Yes. Okay. Now on to the public hearing for the zoning and outdoor storage amendment. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I will make a motion to open public hearing at 6:05 p.m.
Motion by Sandra, is there a second?
I second
Second by Deborah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, is there any public comment regarding the zoning and outdoor storage amendment that is on? Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, this amendment is just for industrial and commercial, correct?
That's correct, and that's been clarified in the most recent version. That notes that anything stored on a residential lot that does not violate the village's junk and junk automobiles ordinance is exempt from being considered outdoor storage under this ordinance. So a residential property would only be subject to the junk and junk automobiles ordinance, which is already on the books.
Okay, okay, got it.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the zoning and outdoor storage amendment? Hearing none. At this point, I recommend to the council that we close the public hearing at 6:07.
So moved.
Moved by Sandra. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deborah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. On to regular public comment at 6:08. Is there any other comments or questions from the public outside of the zoning and storage amendment? Okay. Hearing none. We'll close the public comment at 6:09. Consent agenda. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes of the council meeting, February 27th, accounts payable, investment report, revenue expenditure report, and balance sheet? And are there any questions?
I don't have any questions on that.
Just so you know, in case you're wondering, the accounts payable marked, for March 12th, Tammy does have these here because, these have to be paid by March 28th, DTE, so that we are not getting a late fee.
Right. Is there a reason why the DVE didn't show up on the regular A&P?
Well, these, were received today,
Okay,
so they are due, they have to be paid by March 28th to avoid any penalties.
gotcha. So they were received after the
Correct.
packet was assembled. Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
yes. Walter,
Yes.
Hitchcock is absent. Schulte,
Yes. Thank you very much. On to our reports. First up is Deputy Hageman.
Good evening. Report for February. Wasn't a ton of stuff going on. We had a couple things. We had a larceny out of Dollar General. Someone grabbed some beer and walked out the door. Couldn't get an ID on them. A threats complaint was taken by our county units, and then a short time after that, the threats turned, or actually it was a domestic and then turned into a threat a week later, so, not a big deal there. We were able to work with the schools. I had, my captain, Andy Danzer, Rob Dale of our Emergency Operations Center, NISA admin, and I all worked with Superintendent Smith to work on their emergency operations procedure. We spent about an hour and a half going over that, so that was good to work with the school. I was able to attend a bunch of programs that were going on after school events, so that was good to be there for that. Let's see, I responded, we had actually a couple of car fires in the area. One was at New DiCarlo and one was on the highway, but right at 52, so we assisted with that. So just weird, they were like literally a day, a day or a couple days separated from each other. Those are really the big thing, not really the big things, but minor things that we did. But we had a school or a student in a classroom say that he was gonna bomb the school, so we had to take care of that, and we sent out charges to the prosecutor, and they issued on that. So what they do in that scenario is sort of like a probation. They talk to the student and get them, just make sure he's not gonna do it again, why he did it, and all that stuff. And before all that, even before they got up to the prosecutor and they made their decision, the kid the next week, almost at the exact same time, did the exact same thing. So 2 in 1 week, basically. So they issued on one and not the other. So that sort of, the first, well, I'd already had it in place, but after that, I had an assistant prosecutor from the prosecutor's office, in county prosecutor's office, come out and we did a presentation. So I told you guys about my presentation that I did, the power of words, last year. Prosecutor Martin, she handled one of the cases that I sent up to her. She's a juvenile. She's part of the probate court, and we worked that out where she came in and sort of talked about what happens after I send up a packet or charges up to the prosecutor, what can happen, and she just went into bit detail about how that works. And then, unfortunately, the kid that had made the first bomb threat was not there to hear it, because he did it the Monday after we did our presentation, so anyhow. But I've already working with her to, bring her back next year at the beginning of the year to like, reiterate this stuff right at the beginning of the year. So she's gonna come in and she's trying to get, I think she said Judge Garcia to come in with a robe on and maybe do like a mock court, at the beginning of next school year. So we're working on that right now. That'd be pretty cool. All in all, not a bad month, not too much going on. We had a total of 7 incidents, 21 traffic stops, 12 citations. Additional hours from Ingham County was an additional 25.5 hours. Some of those were the meeting that we had with Superintendent Smith as well as the sheriff. And I think he came to the village, talked to the clerks or something, I'm not sure. He said he was out here for about an hour or so. Had a couple assaults, a larceny, a suspicious situation, threats, 1 crash, and DOA. That's about it. Yes, ma'am.
I know you're really busy, but the situation with Aldi's, the semis parking and blocking the traffic,
Yeah.
anything going on with that?
I've contacted, I haven't dealt with them in a while, but I've worked with their, like, I've had meetings with like their head guy there to try to come up with some ideas, and he sort of shot them down saying they couldn't make what I suggested happen. I guess I sort of put it on Brad to, work with them to try to come up with a solution, a better solution. One of my solutions was they have a drive that goes all the way around the back, to have them line up around that. And so that way it gets them out of the road. And one of the things that they initiated, it's been working through this year, but they're supposed to do like a 24-hour schedule. So it alleviates the 10 o'clock rush to get in there. Sounds like it's still going on, so it's not completely happening, but I haven't done much with it at all. I think I've done as much as I can, realistically. I've given them options, I've worked with them, I've written tickets, my partner, he's written tickets, he's out there breaking it up and stuff, so not really sure what else to do at this point. I think it's something that the village has to work out with them, really push to make sure that they're, figure out a good solution to it, short of having to, reconfigure the entire road. So I think it'd be good for the village to make contact with them and try to come up with a solution and I'd be happy to be any part of any of those meetings. And they were real good about meeting with me, so I don't think it's a terrible thing to be too hard to do. But I think having you guys involved, saying that it's a big issue instead of just us, I think that would be a valid way to do it.
Jim has contacted them about this before. I actually thought they were supposed to park at Nada's if they couldn't get in. But clearly that's not happening, or there's too many of them maybe.
Yeah, Nada's, I mean, they have that parking lot, but it's a paid lot next to it. And then, they were working with, someone had told me that they were able to park up and down Highview.
There is some space for that.
I mean,
But in
along
order
the
to get
side,
there, they have
it's
to turn
wide,
around.
wide enough. Yeah, there's a turnaround back there. But it's
It's not-
communicating with them.
That's
That's,
designed for it.
No, and it's
Yeah,
not
that's
really
the biggest
sufficient,
thing
and it's
is-
way back there.
Yeah, and even Alan Boyer said that, if we were to allow that, basically Highview would basically be destroyed within like 2 years.
Yeah.
So every 2
It's
years.
just not
we have
set
to-
up for
Yeah, it's just not,
semis.
It's a
not
lot of
designed for
weight.
that massive amounts of truck traffic
It's
and,
not in good shape as it is.
yeah, and when we looked at it before, because this has been an issue for a long time now, I know that we reached out to MDOT to try to get MDOT to, because it's MDOT's road, village has no say on 52. We can't do anything about 52 at all. And so it was an MDOT problem. MDOT said the same thing. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And they went after Aldi on it. I think state police went after Aldi on it. I mean, a lot of people have tried to get it resolved, and so far there's, I mean, you're probably talking now, what, 5 years? 5, 6
Yeah,
years?
it
It's been a
was,
long time.
it was several years ago that Jim threatened to red tag them,
Yeah,
which was a, you know, kind of comical threat for an apparatus that big, but they called immediately when they got the ticket, and, but then there's always a lot of finger pointing, at least from our perspective, because we get, when we look into it, it's Aldi points at MDOT, and MDOT points at Aldi, and then they both point at the truck drivers.
Have we ever had Aldi and County Sheriff Village and NADA's present? All representatives from 4 parties, because it seems like,
Not us. We had everybody else. It was 6 AM. It was fun.
because I understand it's a paid lot, but, I mean, if Aldi would be willing to maybe subsidize, pay for temporary parking.
It's also, it's $20 for the night.
Yeah, it is.
Not to minimize that, but it's,
Yeah, and they have people working there doing that, but they don't always have someone there. You know, they're accepting to have them there, but, you know, they're a lot, and they deserve to make money for people being in there. It shouldn't just be a freebie for those guys unless they work something out with.
with all, that's fair.
But, you know, and a lot of that's communication. That was one of my ideas that I gave to them. I was like, how about you guys have a communication system with the trucker? They're 10 miles out. Hey, this is trucker 10. I'll be there in 20 minutes or so. What's the status? Where can I park?
Right.
And they're like, well, that's a union thing. We'd have to do this, that, and the other thing to, you know, and, I'm not sure if we could do that. Literally, I gave them 3 or 4 different ideas, and they all said, well, I don't think we can make this happen because of X, Y, and Z.
yeah, because my stepdad worked for Sharp, you know, who actually hauls for Aldi, and it's not them that's the problem, it's actually the incoming
Yeah.
loads that are the problem. And what he was saying, he said the problem is all these people show up hours before they're supposed to be there, and then they think they can,
Sometimes days.
yeah, they think they can sneak in and like go into the lot, and Aldi has a set schedule when they can accept loads.
Mhm.
And when they come in early, there's nothing, you know, they tell them right off the get, like, you can't do anything about it. I mean, I watched one night very dangerously, a guy came off of Highview and blocked the whole entire 52.
Yeah,
Just-
they don't care.
Just sat there until, and it was blocking me. I was behind them in traffic. It was blocking the whole, I mean, it was pandemonium over there. And it wasn't until a state cop came out and, I mean, like literally almost ripped the guy out of the truck because he refused to move.
Mhm. Yeah, they don't care, and so
Yeah.
those are the ones that are getting tickets.
Yeah.
They're like, you are impeding traffic,
Yeah, I mean, that
and
was.
this is not acceptable.
Well, and then I witnessed just last night, he was in the turn lane, but he literally turned his truck off, no hazards on, nothing, got out of the truck
Mhm.
and walked over to McDonald's. That's a concern, there's no hazards on, he's just leaving the truck parked.
They think it's a parking spot.
Yeah, and you don't see any hazards or anything, that can cause an accident right there in itself.
Yeah.
It really can, so that's a concern.
yeah.
And he's
I think-
blocking the right away too, so.
To Josh's point, that Aldi consistently is like, it's not our problem, the truck drivers are arriving off schedule. And that problem you guys got too.
Right.
Yeah,
But there-
but there's solutions to do this, it's called communication.
Yeah.
My other thing basically the truck drivers work are like subcontractors. Aldi puts it out to like this vendor, basically, they put it out to the, whatever it is. And, contractors will say, okay, I have 10,000 apples that I can give you. This subcontractor trucker will say, hey, I'll take that to Aldi from wherever to wherever. And so they pick it up. And my suggestion to them was like, okay, how do we get information to them? As soon as they see it, you blast out all this information. If you don't do this, if, you know, you need to do this, you need to call in time. And that was another one of those things, always like, I can't guarantee that they're going to tell these people that. Well, you gotta figure out a way to get them to do that, give them a penalty.
Basically, non-communication in the receiving and sharing departments is.
Yeah, but it's their thing is that it's a union issue and they have to get it approved for their unions to do this communicating. Cause it's another job function, so they have to say it's within their job function. Right? I was like, that doesn't make sense. Your job function is what they tell you your job function is. And sometimes it's make a call to whomever. Is that tough?
What do you think?
Right?
That was a really good idea, Sam, about even talking to Nada about, maybe working with Aldi about so many spots of parking.
But
over
it's
there.
getting those guys to go there too.
Oh, I agree.
And and then, the whole parking across the road, because it's almost across the road. And they don't wanna have, they don't wanna stage everybody in that huge lot that they put in there because it's beyond their, security station. So again, it's excuse after excuse.
Right. Well, even if it was, somewhere like a parking garage where it's paid, but, could Aldi validate it? And then there's some sort of agreement between Nadas and, for X amount of trucks per month. I don't know. I don't know if we can eliminate the traffic. And I don't know if this is a Leroy thing or a county thing, but
I mean, the road is, you said MDOT's, but it's still the village.
Right.
You guys own the
I
land.
wonder if it'd be worth putting up, lighted signs or some sort of sign that says caution heavy truck traffic between hours 9 PM and 12 AM or.
Well, I went to Nada's, I don't know, it was winter, fall, I think, and there was one of those huge MDOT signs.
Right.
And apparently MSP put that out there, and they did it for like a week, and I couldn't figure out who put it out there. Jessica, I don't know, a couple months ago, sent out something to MDOT trying to get info, and I never heard anything back. And so I don't know if they contacted her or how that worked.
Yeah, it was directing people to go down Highview and turn around and stage on Highview.
Yeah, that may have been where I heard it, but it's just trying to come up with a way we can solve this problem.
Yeah, but like I said, that's what the sign said, because I ended up calling Brad on it. I was like, that road already is like falling apart. We can't take that. And not to mention the turnaround that's available. There's 2 turnarounds that were put in strictly for the fire department.
Yeah.
To be able to turn around back there, the Hammerhead and then the turnaround on DDA property. And it wasn't sustained to handle that much traffic
Those are
at
not
all.
designed for.
I mean, not even a semi. We made it big enough, the
Not
one on
that-
DDA,
not
we made it
that
big
much
enough for a
traffic.
semi to turn around, just to make it out of ease, but, I mean, I also don't wanna see that ripped up, cause then, God forbid, the fire department ever has to use it, and that's completely torn up, and they can't even get
Yeah.
around back there. 'Cause it's getting pretty bad.
Josh, is there any DDA owned land we could put a parking lot on and get Aldi to?
So they're trying to buy,
Pay a fee every month and.
so they're trying to buy that lot next to them, between them and the railroad tracks. But the guy wants like $1 million for it or something, they're like,
No,
we're just not
it's-
gonna pay
they
that
want,
much.
yeah, they want 75,000 an acre there,
That's the
Yeah.
township too, which adds another moving part.
yeah.
I don't think that's like the,
No, I think that's the
problem.
village, isn't it?
Just north of Aldi is the township.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So, and I don't think that's a huge deal. I don't think the township would be like, no, you can't possibly put a parking lot there, Aldi can't expand, but it's another moving part, another entity that has to be in the room.
Is part of the, project this year for repaving Highview, would that make the road substantial enough to handle that type of traffic or no?
Alan said it would be, it
So his
would.
comment was for the paving, not necessarily the current road.
Right,
Okay.
well, he was saying, with that much traffic, of course, that's gonna be a huge amount of, traffic on the road, that it was designed for that necessarily, but that means basically a 2 to 3 year plan to repave that every time.
Right.
Cause even the repaving that we're doing isn't fixing the structure issues that are currently there. We're basically just putting cap over it, we're milling it up and putting cap back down.
Right.
So, we really don't wanna do that, not to mention it's not really fair to the businesses back there to rip up that road and create that traffic problem for them when, we can look at possibly Aldi or the DDA property being a temporary parking lot, see what that would take to do, but, this also becomes a problem where it's a Aldi problem.
Yeah, but where's your property at?
Yeah, we're trying to fix it, but, because I proposed to them years ago, you have enough space, and I'm sure the village would be able to do a variance for you to do a 3-lane road all the way around your building, so your staging would be basically all the way
Behind
along
the
your whole
building.
entire building.
Right.
And you'd probably get a ton of trucks all the way around that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd have your gate over there where you could let people in, your communication would be better. I mean, it would be a substantial, improvement. And that really wouldn't take much to do because they already have the majority of that already in place.
Yeah.
Sounds like we need to set something up
Yeah.
because this needs
Well-
proactive.
And I would love it, and I would be happy to, bring in even that, property owner to the north. I can make call and get them to see if maybe we can help them work a deal with Aldi to do something there too.
Now, Leroy Township owns that?
It's not Leroy
No.
Township, it's in Leroy
It's
Township.
in Leroy Township. They
Yeah.
have zoning authority over it.
Yeah, so Aldi basically was just, I mean, Chris can say this, but it was brought into the village because they needed water and sewer.
Yep.
So there's an agreement that allows the village limits to go extend over to it, to provide that service.
But if all they're doing is adding an extra ring road, that wouldn't need the water and sewer
No.
extended. And frankly, if they just sold, I'm just spitballing, a strip of land to Aldi, just so Aldi can expand a little bit,
Right.
there's still a whole lot of land that's still there, still zone industrial, still next to railroad tracks, still next to M52. A
Yeah.
lot of value they can still hold. So I think there may be a deal to be made here, but I think we need to probably be proactive, I suppose.
Yeah. Next time I see Brad, I'll talk to him about how we can initiate further discussion. But I agree, we need to keep the meeting moving. This has been an ongoing issue for years. I had one more question for you, Debbie.
Yeah.
I was just curious for the activity stats.
Yeah.
What constitutes a business or residential shack?
Usually driving through around, not like going up to the door and checking all the doors and stuff like that, but
Okay.
just driving around it, making sure there's no signs of, like any damage,
Gotcha.
visible damage from the road.
Chris?
There are a few times where, like property checks where someone will give us like a vacation property check, we'll go physically touch each handle and make sure, everything's locked and secure on those.
Gotcha. So I'm just noticing on Deputy Allen's report, you have 1,850 for the month.
Yeah, I noticed that was a little high, I was gonna ask him about that.
That's over 100 shifts.
Yeah. Well, when it's slow at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a lot to do, so,
Sure, and I was curious
yeah,
how that accumulates and,
yeah.
if there's any pencil sharpening we can do on having that number be more meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it, so,
All right.
yeah. And like always, I have, ride-along forms down in the clerk's office. Jessica has them, that if anyone wants to do another ride-along or a ride-along in general, it's always open. Fill it out, give it to me, I'll sort of fast track it through our system, so you guys don't have to drive to Mason, and, we'll get you in there. Except you. I figured. Did you have a question back there, sir?
Getting back to the Aldi's thing, is that because the trucks are parked in the center turn lane,
Is what, because they're parked in the center turn lane?
the issues that they're having?
Well, some of it. Parts of it are, they're blocking the highway access. They are using that as lot and then turning into the turn lane, and then blocking the travel lanes. I had one guy one night, he was an Aldi driver in one of their trucks. He's like, and as I'm driving up to him, I see him from the turn lane pull out into oncoming traffic and pull into, now the only traffic there was me at the point, but he pulled into oncoming traffic, pulled into the lot, into the driveway where the security shack is. And so I pulled him over, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I have an appointment at 10 o'clock, we'll say, whatever time it was, and I'm not gonna be late because these guys are parking here. I'm like, this is not acceptable. So we dealt with that issue. Yeah, they just do crazy stuff. It's like, their minds are, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. They're doing crazy stuff out there.
Does the sheriff's department have a motor carrier division?
We do not know.
Do you ever think about teaming up with MSP and have 4 or 5 units sitting there? And I've never seen a semi pass an inspection yet. It can be brand new out of the factory
Yeah.
and there's something wrong.
Yeah, probably.
And if they start doing inspections, on trucks and trailers, that gets expensive quick.
Yeah.
That could put an end to the issue.
It would, yeah, and it's just getting them, and that's valid, that is valid. See if we can work with them. I have some folks I've made contacts with the motor carrier, but they're not gonna have someone sit 3 or 4 deep out there doing that. I think they were maybe part of putting a sign out there, but again, that happened without any of my knowledge. I didn't know it was there until I drove up to Nada's and checked the place out. So they happened to fill me in on it, and it was gone in a week. So I still don't even know anything about it. No one ever contacted me. So, but yeah, that is valid. But if we can get a meeting with everybody, I think that'd be a great source. I mean, I feel like we put a lot of effort in trying to come up with solutions, but getting the village board on there would, I think, maybe help a little bit too.
I agree.
Anything else? Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
It's always appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Thank you.
DPW report. Ryan Jones, what do you have for us this evening?
It was a busy month. Been working on the lagoons. We're in our spring discharge period right now. Hopefully starting Friday, I should be getting rid of some water. Samples are in the lab right now, so I have a 5-day test I have to wait for. We're replacing a valve that is on order. We had to wire transfer some money to a Canadian company, and we got that handled. Our lagoons are in compliance as we speak. I've had Greg and Max out daily working to clean the facility up just because it looks a lot better. Cutting trees out of the fence that we do have, the good fence along the east property that separates us from the golf course. So they've been cutting trees and getting brush all cleared. Made a big sign order because I do have to have signage all around our facility warning that wastewater lagoons are present, no trespassing. So we have signs hung up now, we're in compliance with that. So overall, the lagoons are looking good. You know, there's always room for improvement, it's an ongoing thing. Mist dig's been rolling in. The drillers that have been all around town, they are done drilling, they finished up today. So you're gonna see the rest of their crews coming around setting handholds. That's the little boxes that go in people's yards. For anybody that's gonna get surf internet or WOW or whatever it is, lost track anymore. So the mist digs, you know, they're slowing down a little bit now, but now that nice weather's here, I'm gonna use this opportunity to remind people. I'm gonna have Jessica put something in the newsletter, maybe water bills, people out doing gardens, call in a mist dig. If you rototill and you hit something and these fiber optic lines that go to your house are only about 3 inches deep, you hit that, you're gonna get charged if you don't have a mist dig. So just call in a mist dig, it's free. You know, it doesn't make you any less of an excavator or homeowner, just do it. Compliance sampling on the drinking water side, that's completed at the end of every month. What we do there is a bacteria test. Our samples came back clean yet again, which is a good thing. So all our reports are turned into the state for drinking water. So, hey, we can have water for another month. Vehicle maintenance, that's an ongoing thing, you know, just keeping everything clean, addressing issues as they arise, that way they don't grow into bigger issues. Water shutoffs this month, we had none. It's the first time since I've been here that we've had 0, so that was a good thing. Snow plowing and salting, you know, I left on there just kind of a little humor. But in all seriousness, we've saved a lot of money because we haven't had to use the salt that we've had to use in the past. So
I forgot to look at the salt barn when I was out there today. How full are we?
not even half.
Okay,
But I do think I'm sitting on one more order for the year. I'd have to check.
right.
We just haven't had it delivered. So anyways, you know, weather's been great. We haven't had to plow, beat up our existing trucks. Well 3, we had that sand filter that we had to have welded. I had Greg paint it because I realized it was never painted after it was welded. So we've gone through, kind of cleaned that up, trying to keep that from rusting out anymore. With the nice weather, people have been putting out brush, even though we're not into our official brush season yet. But we have been picking it up as we see it, just to try to keep town looking nice and to prevent, you know, brush overload once the official brush season is upon us. The DPW shop is been overhauled, I'll say. We've been cleaning frantically, trying to get rid of things that we don't need. If we haven't used it in 3 to 5 years, it's gone. I do have a 20-yard dumpster being delivered tomorrow. I'm gonna start getting rid of a lot of our scrap metal that we have piled up out back. I'm looking at it probably a couple $1,000s. It's gonna be deposited into our general fund. But it's just junk sitting there that could be making us money, can help us out here in our budget. I didn't want to haul it ourselves because if we blow one tire on the way to the scrapyard, we've lost whatever money we made in that load. And with our equipment, we just don't have trucks big enough. So I have a company out of Lansing, they're bringing a dumpster tomorrow. I can fill it, they'll come get it, charge us, minimal amount, but it's worth it because it's not beating up our trucks. Because I'm not gonna drive to Lansing or Howell in our trucks, blow a tire, have something break down, end up costing us more money in the long run. And I'm just working with Caitlin on the DPW budget. I think we got a pretty good handle on that. I think we're gonna talk about that later on in the meeting. But we got some ideas and, DPW is rolling right along. So, any questions, feel free to ask. I know Lana, you came down, did a little tour not too long ago. Sandra, I took you around last year, if I remember correctly. But, if anybody ever wants to have a question, see what we do every day. Whether it's on the drinking water side, because every day we have to do water samples. If you want to see what we're doing with the lagoons, like I said, hopefully this weekend I'm going to start discharging. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to come on down. And I don't have an official form quite like the sheriff's department does, but I could make one. So, but that's all I have.
What's going on with the first aid, CPR training?
I kind of put,
Has there been other bids besides the one from Stockbridge?
not to my knowledge.
AEDs.
Yeah,
Not to my knowledge. That has kind of been put on the back burner. I was pushing it off for one more month to get us through our lagoon issues and our discharges. So I kind of prioritized that a little bit. Like I said, about a month out on that before I kind of pick up where Shane left off. And then, Deb, was it you or Sandra who was working? Was Shane working with any of you on that, like contacting Nessa or anything like that, or?
No, but we have a NISA meeting coming up, and I think Jessica asked me to find out from them what it would take for them to actually come out to the village office and do CPR training.
Okay.
And
Because since I've kind of started to spearhead these projects, I do have 2 other individuals I was going to call that I know that put on these classes. But like I said, I had to kind of reprioritize some things. But it has not been forgotten, but it will be addressed probably within a month.
okay. Getting back to your Miss Dig comment, when Miss Dig notifies you, they send a map, correct? Of the area to be checked on a private locate?
On a private locate, yes. Miss Dig will send a map to all affected utilities. I actually have never had to witness that because I've never owned a utility that was gonna be marked. But they do send a map just like they do on a normal locate ticket.
Because the village came out and did not even look at the area that it was marked off to be looked at. All they did was water,
Mhm.
and that was it. They didn't even do sewer.
Okay,
All they did was water. They have not reported back to Miss Dig.
because we don't own, the village does not own from the curb stop in your front yard into the house. We don't own that, so it's not ours. So the private locate request, what that does is that notifies a private company, big name in the area is Bloodhound Services. They would then be notified to come out. They would hook their electronic locator to the water line and locate that section of pipe. As for the sewer, the city does not own your sewer line. It comes off the city main all the way to your house. That again would be sent out to a company that either has a sewer camera that has a locating sond in it. What that is it goes up the sewer line, emits a signal, and they can trace it with a locator from the surface. But the village does not do that. because it's not ours to locate. So the private locate in the Mystic system, that sets up, whoever calls in the Mystic, say it was you, they would set up a locating service to contact you and say, what private utilities are you looking to have located? But the village will never locate something that we don't own for liability reasons.
Okay. So, any other questions for DPW this evening? Hearing none, so we'll move on to the clerk treasurer report. Clerk treasurer Cooch is out sick this evening, so I will read her report. They've been working on the budget with Caitlin, as well as Plant Moran to get that budget finished. For taxes, after the new fiscal year, they will have to start thinking about tax season for 2024. Any utility bills that do not have a payment plan or has an outstanding balance will be put on their property taxes. Filing is an ongoing process. The building online BSNA, Josh got a technical issue fixed, and they will begin training soon on getting the program up and running. Personal property taxes, the document has been sent to get the 2004 to 2018 personal property taxes cleared from the system. They're just waiting for a response. And for the elevator, Ryan got the cages on the light bulbs per the state request, and Max has vacuumed out the pit as well as the elevator room, and still working with Josh on getting the elevator going. Take questions, but I won't be able to answer them. Number 4, WDDA report. Josh, what do you have?
We're still waiting to do the, send the parking lot out for bid on Summit and Grand River. As you can see, the roof is finally getting done. Hoping the structural part should be done by the end of the week is what their hope was, because this weather's been amazing for them to work in. So then they'll be laying the roofing material, hopefully the following week, and it will be completely finally sealed up for good and fixed correctly. And then after that, we'll start moving on to the next steps of renovating the building, but at least it'll be dry. That was the first priority.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Any updates on the parking lot addition?
Like I said, that will go out to bid. Alan's supposed to be putting the bid package together for that.
Okay.
So it'll go back out to bid, and hopefully it comes back at their amount. I know they're still waiting for the Drain Commission to give approve their new plan because of the drain that they're trying to put in right there. Because basically there'll be a 14 spot parking lot, and that's actually an L-shaped lot, while the L part of the lot will end up being there'll be a retention basin there. So that basically the overrun of the parking lot will actually go and then go into the actual county's drain system. And part of the design too, when Alan designed it, I had asked him to basically help relieve Summit's drainage problem that is currently apparent there by hopefully curbing that house next to it. And we're gonna cover all that, so that basically the hope is that that corner will actually be raised up correctly and stop being a catch-all as it currently sits, because that drain that's in there is not, basically wasn't probably supposed to be there originally.
Right.
I'll take questions, because I can answer them.
Any questions for Josh? I'm hearing none. Building and zoning report. I don't know if Chris, if you have anything to add other than what Jim typically sends over.
Yeah, it's not a ton of insight, or what, I guess, there's not a whole lot that's particularly notable, is a better way to put it. I think, or you may be interested in the fact that 1230 Mason, Jim has had, what started as a code enforcement issue and is now a revised administrative site plan for some of the accessory buildings in their backyard.
Is that primitive?
Yeah, they had a distiller back there that they had not gotten any pulling permits for. So we're working through that, that issue. Other than that, yeah, it's, sort of, keep it on for Jim.
Yeah, looks like a fairly standard zoning report. NISA report, Sandra.
So we actually had at our last meeting a public comment about the traffic concern of 52, and somebody actually shared that Ms. Mel should contact the Michigan Police Motor Carrier Division to report the traffic concern, so just wanted to bring that up. And then something else that I want to mention that maybe not everybody knows is since we have a Station 62 out here, especially in the wintertime and when there's really bad weather, we actually have some people stationed out there overnight. So just something that's probably not really known.
Is that
does
new?
happen.
Is that new that they're doing that, or is that?
They've actually been doing that always.
Okay.
And I guess they just put some cots in there and that's what the people sleep on.
Gotcha.
So it's not permanent, it's just temporary quarters that they put up there, but they do have that happen when we have bad weather and stuff. And our next meeting is on Thursday, which will be my first meeting as the treasurer. So,
Oh, excellent.
yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions for Sandra? Hearing none. So number 7, attorney reports, Mr. Scott Gould.
White Rose, that's been the pending matter for outdoor storage. We do have a date set for March 27th for oral arguments as to the appeal that White Rose has brought forth to the circuit court. I placed a call into Jamie Hord's probation agent prior to the last meeting. I did not hear anything back. I called again today. Apparently the agent is in training and I'm supposed to get a call back this Thursday regarding Jamie and whatever she's doing. Just for us to get an update whether or not there'll be a show cause with the circuit court for, I think part of the terms of the probation was she has to maintain employment. So I've been pushing the probation department to stay after her for that. Michigan Civil Rights Commission, their complaints we received prior to the last meeting and we answered it. I called there today just to get an update. They confirmed receipt of the answer and they are still reviewing the answer. And they said just we're in a pending status that they'll get to it when they get to it. Leroy Township, that was an issue that was brought up last meeting. I reached out to Leroy Township tax assessor Scott Cunningham. He confirmed that he did in fact change the parcel ID numbers for the Grammar Road. I believe it was going to be a subdivision at one time. It was a 425 agreement that was entered into 2008 or 9, right before the crash. That was the matter in which the Hingham County Commissioners, we submitted a petition to effectively give back that land to Leroy Township. And with Mr. Cunningham's email, it confirms that that in fact has happened. I know I believe that was a question brought by President Hitchcock at the time. One piece that is just for the fact that's been brought up, Aldi's, I just wanted, just in case anyone had forgotten, there was a time when a group of us from the village did go and approach Aldi's as to the traffic problems. And at that time, it seemed like we got some resolved. It was like 6 in the morning, and you reminded me it was 6 in the morning. I remember being first thing in the morning, but not at 6 in the morning. But and Brad was pretty stern with them, and they seemed to comply right out of the gate. The big picture, though, I don't know how we stay after them, other than we do have an ordinance on place that speaks to blocking a road. Now, that is an MDOT road, but if we have jurisdiction over there, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of different options. The problem is, obviously, Aldi's doesn't care about the truckers. I mean, these guys are independent contractors 9 times out of 10. they're brokering the cheapest freight they can find. And that's why we're getting what appears to be acts of cowboys doing whatever they want because they just don't care.
Well, I mean, to be frank about the situation, I understand all these position that, you know, it's ultimately the truck driver's personal accountability and responsibility to abide by state laws. But, you know, they may not necessarily feel like they are responsible for a solution, but they're, in my mind, absolutely responsible for the cause of the problem in that they're not providing adequate access to their facility to their truck drivers.
And I agree with you. One thing I was looking for the ordinance, and I was trying to find some language that would really hook this for me anyway, would be that effectively they're creating the nuisance.
Right.
I mean, albeit independent actors, but they're only showing up because of all these.
Right.
You know, so further review, I mean, I just know at one time it seemed to work well, and then, you know, they probably got lax again, so.
It seems like they were told to park at Nada's and they only paid $20.
Right.
And they're just doing whatever again. Because that was what I remember being the solution, was we're gonna make Nada's pave and then they can park there. I'm sure that takes some of them, but apparently not all. Is it a ridiculous idea to sue Aldi?
Well, I mean, it's creating a problem for the community. I mean, and it's a health and safety issue beyond just an inconvenience.
Right.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. It would take a little bit of thought, because obviously you're gonna tangle with all these. You're gonna wanna make sure you have everything squared, ready to go.
Well, you know, I think it's also in the village's best interest to act as friendly but concerned neighbors, because the last thing we want to do is give Aldi a reason to pack up and leave.
That's good.
Granted, I think they're very vested in the community in that location at this point, but that's not a road that I would welcome going down.
Fair. And I will say that, the individual, I believe he was the highest ranking member at the location in that meeting. And whether it was lip service or not, he seemed to be concerned. I mean, he seemed to want to address the issue. Maybe time was just faded memories and what should have happened out there, but.
Oh, and I don't know how often, you know, the drivers that they're using are frequenters of Aldi routes. Maybe there's been enough turnover in that time where it's a new set of faces who aren't aware of this issue. You know, give some benefit of the doubt.
And as far as, that's all I have to report as of tonight, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Much appreciated. Engineering reports. PEA group is not present this evening. Any advocate reports? Okay. None there, so on to new business. First up, Chris, I believe you have the floor for the zoning and outdoor storage amendment approval.
Since the previous discussion, we did increase sort of the free period to 7 days before zoning kicks in. So storing anything up to 7 days is sort of below the radar of zoning under this ordinance. We also added some exemptions for the parking of operable vehicles and for residential lots, provided those residential lots are not in violation of ordinance 93, basically keeping the situation the same as it is for residents. They're subject to ordinance 93 and not to this. There is one request for one more change before you guys vote, and that is from Jim Wright, who has suggested that we add a clause stating that outdoor storage can only be approved for a special use permit if the applicant proves it's necessary for the operation of their business. And that they must have a business that operates other than simply just storing stuff on a piece of property.
How is that different from the current special use clause, which is lined out per zone?
The current special use clause would allow somebody to get a special use permit for a business or land use that simply involved taking in people's junk and storing it on a piece of property. I don't know that we have a particular businesses talking about doing that, even the ones we've had problems with, are indoor operations that happen to have outdoor components or needs to store things. But
Right, but if it's a special use permit, it has to go through council anyway, so at that
That's true.
point, it would be up to the council to inquire as to the requirement for said special use permit.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And do you have a special use criteria about the economic necessity of a special use?
not that
And
I'm
if so,
aware of.
I think there is something, it's something about, actually, I think the word downtown is in there. The impact, the economic impact on the downtown,
Right.
which is a little different. But I think there is, you have some reason to question something that is not providing any jobs, and is simply just taking land to put stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
well, I guess my concern is that adding that language could possibly dissuade the business from maybe seeking a, special use permit that the council would maybe agree to, but doesn't necessarily meet that criteria. And it feels to me anyway that anybody who would violate that part of that clause wouldn't apply for a special use permit to begin with. That, you know, that
They
they're
would
gonna
just
be
go ahead and
violated
do it.
regardless.
Yeah, and then we'd be doing code enforcement. That's a good point.
I just, my opinion is I don't wanna make it any more onerous and, restrictive than we're already making things. So, that's, I said my piece, but, I don't know what the rest of y'all think about adding that.
I don't know that it's really necessary. Like, especially because if it's for special use permit, like Sam said, they would have to come to the council anyways.
True. And then you have that discretionary option.
Right.
And that's how I feel too, because,
Agreed.
you know, why put something in when we're gonna have to have it brought to us?
Right,
All right, I'll report that back to Jim.
okay.
So I can take any further questions before a vote, or if you're ready to vote.
I have no further questions. It looks like,
So is that amendment in this already?
No, Jim brought it up to me yesterday, so it didn't make it into today's version that I sent over to Jessica last week.
So then he wanted to do an amendment at a later date for that?
He wanted me to bring it up to you guys before you voted tonight, which I did, but it sounds like you're not interested, so that's fine.
yeah, so if somebody wants to make a motion, for the amendment approval as presented,
I will make a motion to approve the zoning and outdoor storage amendment presented by McKenna and Associates.
Second,
second by Lana, roll call?
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Stanfield, yes. Walter,
Yes.
Hitchcock is absent, Schulte,
Yes. Motion passed. So Chris, from here, how does this get enacted?
So, we will draft a notice of adoption, get that to Jessica. Jessica has to put it in the newspaper and it becomes effective 7 days after it's in the paper.
Okay,
Additionally, we will edit the zoning, ordinance book itself, update its new date with a new effective date, and distribute that, to you guys and to Jessica.
excellent. So you don't need anything further from us
Nope.
on this issue? All right. So I believe that's all we needed you here for this evening. If you'd like to depart from us, we certainly understand, but you're not required to stay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
thank you.
You as
Drive
well?
Let me know if
safely.
there's anything, thank you, let me know if there's anything I can do on Aldi or anything of that nature. And we'll continue the process of getting this on the books
Will do.
officially.
Enjoy the rest of this nice weather.
Right.
Yeah, at least now you have a lighter drive after Dale.
Yeah, it's very pretty out.
Okay, discussion of the 2024-2025 proposed budget. I'll ask the question genuinely as to how does the council feel best to proceed with this? I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review in detail.
No.
No,
Okay.
Can we table this until the next meeting?
Next meeting is when we have to vote on it. So I'd say let's buckle up and we'll go through it. It'll take some time, might be a little painful, but we'll get started. So let's focus on the highlights here, things that are changing. So for general fund, on revenue, there's a 5% increase expected, basically due to inflation. The next few lines are basically equal to the 2024 amendment that we just recently did, so there's no expected changes. The marijuana tax, again, that's 5% factored for inflation. For those who do not know, there's essentially a revenue sharing agreement that the state has put in place for communities who adopt marijuana dispensaries. So that's something that we are expected to receive $62,040 for having our marijuana dispensary out by the highway. Liquor control fees, delinquent tax penalties, building permits, those are all expected to stay the same. Revenue, there's a state grant for $170,000. That's the Category B funding to help with the repaving of Highview. Metro Monies Act, no change. LSCA, no change. Or I'm sorry, that's an estimated based on the average from previous years. State revenue sharing, these are the 2024 projections, so there's not really much change, an $11 change, not significant. Then administrative fees, fines, charges, interest and income, no change. There is a highlighted cell here for fund transfers with a note that we do not yet know what to expect for contributions from the DDA for the Business Park paving project, as well as any contributions from the DDA for snow removal equipment. With that, it gives an expected revenue of $1,473,520 for 24-25. Any questions? Okay. Is this a suitable format for everybody, or is?
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah,
Okay.
that's real good for me.
Okay, general fund expenditures. Wages, this is spread out across multiple funds, so there is a 2% annual increase that's expected for wages. The SUTA, FICA, health insurance, GDL insurance, either no changes or slight changes due to inflation. Retirement insurance, office supplies, office equipment, postage, building maintenance, contractual obligations, no change from 24. The contractual public safety aspect, there is an increase. So that is the projected amount for the police contract going back to 80 hours. So it's going from our amended 290,000 to 348, which is what we approved for the renewal of the police contract. Public Works, contracts staying the same, professional fees, same, payroll processing fees, nothing is expected, membership, training, parks, utility, same as 24. For the building department, same as last year, $78,000. Let's see. Ames County Drain, same as the amended 24 budget. Transfer to local streets, that's an increase from the last year of $2,000. And transfer to the motor pool. This is a transfer of the DDA contribution for snow removal equipment. So assuming that the DDA contributes that amount, that will be made whole. And then the capital outlay, that's just a big one. This is improvements for village offices, the road and business park, the category B funds, brings us to 1.7 $1,789,398. So this would consume $315,879 of our general fund, leaving us with $8,057 in the general fund. So this is quite a bit concerning. This number is likely to change with whatever the DDA decides to contribute. Which, Josh, I don't know if you have any input on when the DDA would have a figure ready for that.
For the business part?
Yeah.
Probably next meeting, I can make sure it's on the agenda, we'll probably.
There's no way it can be broken up so we can see how much is going to each. Because it says,
For the capital outlay?
yeah, because I mean, it says, I understand the improvements to like the village offices, the road, the road project and everything. It'd be nice if we could see how much was going to each.
Right. Yeah, and I was talking to Josh before the meeting, and neither him or I could remember offhand what the total cost of Highview paving was projected to be. So it would certainly be a great deal of the 629. I agree, it would be nice to see that broken down a little bit more. I think the current philosophy is that this money is set aside and whatever is left from the Highview project would essentially be what we have available for improvements to the village office. And I know Brad had talked to Jessica about painting and carpet, and kind of updating the village office a little bit, which admittedly is a little overdue, but,
It's a little dated, yeah.
I think we're gonna have to think long and hard about whether or not that's something the village can afford this year, next year. So,
It's just my accounting brain, how it thinks and seeing things and.
no, I agree. I can certainly ask Jessica if she has a breakdown, for next meeting, for the approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on general fund? Okay. Major streets. Federal grants. So this is a line item from last year. Last year, there was $375,000 from MDOT for the Main Street project. That was a one-year grant, which has been spent, so nothing is expected in 24-25. Highway funds, I believe this is also monies from MDOT Act 51. So this is a slight increase from last year, not significant. Interest and income, no significant change. So total revenue is there, 145,812. Expenditures, so again, wages, 2% annual increase. We will see that in each category. Health insurance, FICA, 5% annual increase. Same with GL insurance. Salt, slight increase of 3% due to inflation. Tree trimming, road maintenance, traffic lights, professional fees, payroll processing, no change from 24. So between revenues and expenditures, there would actually be a surplus of $24,000. So it would actually bring our fund balance for major streets from $3,800 to $28,000. So call that one a win. Local streets, again, highway funds from Act 51, slight increase due to inflation. These are revenues, of course. Transfers from primary government, slight increase. This is the amended budget from 24 to balance things out. Wages 2%. Salt, same 3% increase. Road maintenance, slight decrease. This is based on prior year's experience. Payroll, signpost, equipment rental, slight decreases, but this is based on last year's budget. So local streets is perfectly balanced. We expect no change in that fund balance. Municipal streets, for revenues, there is the 5% increase on property taxes, interest on income, no change. Contractual professional fees, Eaton County Drain Commission, no change. DDA TIP district, no change. So the net revenues and expenditures is negative 14,000. So beginning fund balance 130, projected end of 115. So this is one area where I looked at where can we trim to make this whole, and I don't see anything. Everything under expenditures are things that we are contractually obligated to cover, and there's nothing we can do. Any questions before we move on? Okay. Sewer, there's no SAW grant expected in 2025. Connection fees, penalties, interest, no change from 24. Expenditures, same wages, 2% increase. Insurance, same story. A lot of, let's see. Supplies, same as amended budget. Professional fees, contractual, same as 24. Payroll processing, utilities, memberships, equipment rental, same as 24. Capital outlay, so this is a notable change. The amended budget for 24 was 50,000. We're proposing 60,000 as a capital outlay, and these are related to lagoon improvements that Ryan has proposed. In fact, I think there's information in our packet later on this evening that gives more detail on that. I don't know, Ryan, if you have any specific things you want to mention related to the budget on that?
Right now, or when we get to lagoon improvements?
We can get to the lagoon improvements later.
Caitlin and I met, and the reason why we wanted to bump it up to 60 is because right now we're sitting on a bunch of unknowns. We don't know what's gonna happen in the near future with the current state of our lagoons. So we wanted to have a little bit extra in there to cover any expenses that the state of Michigan says we have to do to stay in compliance. So needless to say, I'm gonna be presenting a quote for some new fencing across the front of our property with an electric gate opener, because we have to have more security. So we wanted to kind of bump up a little bit. Nowhere in there is there gonna be any luxury items. I wish there was, but you know, we just don't have it right now. So Caitlin thought it would be best if we bumped it up just a little bit, just to cover ourselves right now. So really, that's all the exciting information I have.
All right, thank you. So net revenues and expenditures for sewer, there's a projected net of 171,599. This is fairly typical, as this is part of a ongoing plan for the village to increase the water and sewer funds so that one day we can replace our infrastructure. So these numbers are quite anticipated. On the water side of water and sewer, no changes on revenues based on the 24 amended budget. For expenditures, same wage increase with insurance and the like. No change on the rest of the items such as professional fees, contracting fees, memberships, training, utility, equipment rentals. Same capital outlay. Last year, the amended budget was 625. This year was 60. So Ryan, I assume that is the same figure that is coming from Caitlin.
Yep.
So for water, the net would be 19,000, so that would add to, the water fund. Not substantially, but it would. Any questions before we round out the motor pool? Okay. Under revenues, no significant changes for interest. Sale of fixed assets, we're not expecting to sell any equipment this year. Last year, I believe we sold the sweeper, so that's why that item is in there.
Sweeper and chipper.
Sweeper and chipper. Charges for services, same as 24. On expenditures, slight change, decrease in, I'm sorry, there's no change in DPW expenditures for that line item. Equipment maintenance and supplies, professional fees. We expect a lot of these to be down based on having newer equipment, less repairs to be done. Capital improvement, last year we amended for 190. Capital improvement next year, so we budgeted for $50,000 for the snow removal equipment.
On that note, in your packet, there's a little breakdown on different available equipment that's out there.
Yep.
Along with quotes. I don't think the quotes are valid anymore, but I don't anticipate it changing all that much. So we went with 50, because the quote for the machine that I am proposing to council, that we can use year round, was just gonna be under 50. So that's why we put that number in there. Meeting with Caitlin, she was very happy with my proposal, with the equipment, that I can use it year round and charge it off to different funds, whether it's streets, water, sewer, general maintenance, because it's something that's not just gonna be parked away in the barn and used 4 times a year when we get snow. So that's where we came up with that number, if there was any questions. Like I said, I have a little sheet there, just kind of comparing all the different vehicles that we've looked at. 2 winters now that we've gone without anything, and we've had a lot of discussion about it. So here was our time to put the money in the budget. You know, that way we can make a decision. I think we've kind of looked at all the possibilities out there. And I'm pushing for 1 machine, and my reasons are right there on that paper, because it's gonna be me and my department that's running it. And I wanna be fiscally responsible to the citizens of the community spending this money. And like I said, it's not gonna be parked away and only brought out 4 times a year. This is something I can use year round, multiple attachments. You know, a whole bunch of different things can be done with this 1 machine. So that's kind of why we're leaning towards that. We can talk about that later in snow removal.
Yep. So it's good that there's a line item in here, holds us accountable that there's space for a solution.
Yep.
To be determined at a later date, and wise to budget for it as if though we were not getting assistance from the DDA, because depending on what we decide for snow removal equipment, the DDA may choose to opt out of any sort of revenue sharing agreement if it's not a solution that aligns with what they'd like for the village. So I have no strong disagreements there. So at least for the motor pool, there would be a net of $41,000, so actually increasing our fund balance there. So that's the proposed budget. The one note that I have is to talk to Jessica and see if we can get a breakdown for the capital outlay items. Anything else? I mean, now is the time to speak up for if there's something that we need to budget for that we haven't accounted for, or if we think that we've budgeted too much for something and we'd like to balance things out differently than what's here. And I suspect, I hope, there should be resolution on fund transfers from the DDA for us to approve at next meeting. If there's no further discussion, there's no action that we need to take tonight. This was for our consideration, the vote for adopting this budget proposal will be at the next meeting.
I'm happy with it. I know that Caitlin and Jessica probably worked on that for a really long time, so
Yes.
it looks good.
Yep.
What we have in there.
It's a far cry from the budgets that Sandra and I have worked on prior.
Yep.
It's a huge improvement. I know that was very dry. I apologize to everybody, but I appreciate
I think you went through it really
people hanging in there.
fast, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Caitlin for making such a clear document,
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
so hats off to that service that she's providing.
Yep. All right, on to item number 3, snow removal equipment. So, this has obviously been a 2-year discussion and ongoing. Ryan, you kind of said your piece earlier about, I'm not sure if you were talking about the Bobcat or the Ventrac. I'm kind of in the boat that, I still think that we could utilize a UTV.
Wait, I have no use for UTV. UTV is gonna present us with a lot of insurance issues, OSHA standards that we're gonna have to follow. They are gonna have to be DOT certified. Safety equipment, short of driving around town in it, I really have no practical use to apply to the village. When we go out mowing the lawns, truck and trailers are utilized there. I'm not gonna pull a lawnmower around with UTV. UTV, I have really no use for on my sewer lagoons. We go out on the lagoons, taking a truck, because I gotta have all my sampling equipment. UTVs, I personally went around town with a tape measure. I didn't eyeball anything, I was measuring, looking at all the different manufacturers. We're gonna run into width issues. Brad's already discovered that with his machine, 2 winters ago. So to get a machine that will fit where we need it,
I think the only area that would be too tight for a UTV would be the bridge though, right?
and right over here by the, auction house is pretty tight as well. We have to be under 60 inches.
Is that because of a tree or a bench? I can't,
Planter boxes,
planter boxes?
yes.
Which are movable.
No, there's stuff in it.
Well,
But
they're DDA
anyways,
planter boxes, right?
The width, we're over width on. To get a machine that will be under width, we're gonna be down into the smaller engine sizes. And they're just not as maneuverable, in my opinion. I have one, plow with it every year. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to ride, but, then we're gonna run into, possibility of no commercial warranty on them, unless we get into like a Kubota or something like that that's designed for commercial use. I know Polaris has one that they're marketing for commercial. They're right up in the same price range that we're at with the machine that I'm proposing. The Bobcat that I was asked to look at as well actually came out a few $1,000s more expensive. It is not rated to use on the slopes around the lagoons, and I'm looking for something that I can use on those hills. Yes, we have a slope mower. It's only it is technically a 2-wheel drive machine, and it's older. So I want to have something that can be used alongside our current slope mower. I can take it out to all our lift stations as well. I can put what they call a rough cut mower on the front. It's basically a brush hog. I can drive forward down into my lagoons when they're empty, right down to the water's edge and back out. These machines are rated to do that. I ask that you guys look at YouTube videos. Company has a ton of videos. There's a lot of private people that have videos about this machine and using it on the hills and in these rough areas. So the Bobcat, yeah, nice machine. There's no rear 3-point hitch on it. It's basically a smaller version of our backhoe, which is a front end loader. So then I get into the Ventrac machine. That's the one I'm pushing for. I've gone to the dealerships. I've looked at them. I have done, 2 years now, a year and a half of homework, 2 winters full on it. And like I was talking with Caitlin in our budget meetings, this machine I can charge off to all our other accounts. I can take it out in the summertime because I want to get a rotary broom for it. I can sweep our streets with it. We sold our street sweeper. So I can use it to clean our curb and gutters. I actually got a quote, I have another one coming, from a professional street sweeping company. It's gonna be $325 an hour. It's gonna be about 4 to 5 hours to do 3.7 lane miles of streets that we have with curb and gutter.
Say that again, how many hours?
It's gonna take 4 to 5 hours to do it.
Okay.
4 to 5. So I have that option on the table as well, contracting with a street sweeping company. The machine I want to get has a rotary broom and a V-plow. 99% of the time, we're going to use a broom on the front of that thing. Takes it right down to bare pavement, unlike a plow that will leave 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of snow. We're going to use a little bit more salt. You go down to bare pavement, you're going to use less salt. I can use our existing salt spreader that we have on the Ventrac. Has an electrical outlet on it, so I can, I don't have to buy another salt spreader, a couple $1,000s worth right there. So the Ventrac is rated on the lagoons. It is less expensive to purchase than the Bobcat. I know Josh had expressed, attachments are expensive, but at the end of the day, an attachment for anything is expensive. Looking at attachments for my personal tractor, I know Sam, you're doing it, things are expensive.
Do I buy used rusty 30-year-old pieces of
Yeah. We can do things different on the private side, but, so the machine, it's a rough terrain mower. I have to get down around our fences. I don't know if anybody paid much attention to where the fences are around our lagoons. As it stands right now, I'm gonna have to hire somebody with a Bobcat, like an actual skid loader with a brush hog on the front, to do like a right-of-way clearing, because I don't have anything to do that. And unfortunately, fences are a huge part of our sewer lagoon compliance, and how to prolong fence, keep trees and brush from growing on them. So this is something that can be used 3 to 4 times a year mowing around our fences. It'll go anywhere we need it to go.
Would it be, sorry, just real quick, would it be possible to, if you had sufficient attachments to be able to mow the lagoons, could we sell our current slope mower?
We could.
Because I know it's older, but it's still
Relatively
reasonably good shape and holds good value.
in our world, it's still a relatively new machine. It has under 500 engine hours on it.
Right.
So we could sell our slope mower that we currently use.
What do you think ballpark that would be worth?
I've never priced one of those machines.
Because I think, I was not around when we purchased it, but Josh, do you recall, wasn't that like a $70,000 mower?
Wow.
The Deweys, the Harper.
The Deweys?
Slope
I have
mower.
no idea. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
Yeah, no, so, the Ventrac has the best commercial warranty I found. It's 2 years on the machine, 3 years on the motor. So, I'm leaning heavily on this machine because it's my department. It's what, I feel is gonna suit us best, suit the village best at the end of the day. Like I said earlier, we've sat 2 winters now talking about different equipment and we haven't done anything yet. Looked at a garden tractor, the smallest available tractor John Deere has. I built one on their website. I was coming out about $10,000 cheaper than the Ventrac. But then again, I have no use for it.
Hudson gets us a pretty heavy discount
Yeah.
through the state contract.
Yep.
And granted, this was last year's price, but a fully equipped, I think it was like a 738. It was a similar 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel steer with a factory cab and plow and salt spreader and heat. I think it was like 14,000 through the state contract.
Yeah, I was looking at something comparable to what is broken in our yard right now.
Yep.
To compare to the machines on the list.
Okay.
It was their subcompact, I think it was like a 1023 or something like that.
So when I talked to, I think it's Mike, he said the offset would be a 700 series For the 585.
for the 585.
Yeah.
Then we get into the problem that Deere may not recognize that as a commercial machine. That was the conversations I was having with Deere. So, then again, it's something that I don't really have much use for. It's gonna sit around, sit and rot, we'll use it 4 times a year when we get enough snow to clear the sidewalks. So, my responsibility as a DPW operator, supervisor, whatever, I'm gonna present you guys with the best available information based on my experience. And my experience and my recommendation is we go with the Ventrac machine because it's something that I can use year round. I don't wanna buy something that just sits. So that's why Kayla and I put that 50,000 line item in there in case we wanna move forward on this. So that's my thoughts on snow removal.
You certainly make a compelling argument. I think before I would be comfortable moving forward on that, I would want really 3 questions answered is, 1, with this solution, would the DDA be willing to contribute anything to this piece of equipment? I don't know if this would be acceptable to them or not, because if we have to foot the bill for all of it, that would certainly change my opinion on the situation. Number 2 is I would like to get an idea of what the duties is worth. And if that is substantial enough to offset the cost to justify purchasing one of the most expensive options here. And then 3rd is, if the Ventrac is truly the solution, I would want to see this quoted with at least 2 other vendors. So
Yeah, because I just,
just for the due diligence,
Yep.
I don't know if there's a different company in the area that
there's
a few thousand
there's
dollars cheaper.
there's a few around. I quoted with Weingarts over in Farmington Hills because the other dealer over in Mason, we had some issues with them in regards to warranty work on our X-Mark zero turn. So I'm not gonna name any names, but I don't really want to do business with them because they were going to charge us an arm and a leg for a known issue. The mower went to another dealership, warranty worked with a blown head gasket.
Right,
So that's why I did not approach them on the Ventrac. So,
understood.
yep.
I like the idea of them being able to have something they can use year round versus 4 times a year. That makes more sense, at least for the money that the village is spending. They're gonna get the use out of it.
So then my question, Sam, to one of your concerns is, if the DDA is not happy with the equipment that we're gonna purchase, so they're gonna withhold the 30,000, then are we relieved of snow removal responsibilities in the DDA district according to our ordinance? What are we gonna do here? I mean,
The man to ask that is.
You know, I mean,
Does the village have an agreement with the DDA to clean the sidewalks?
No, it's
Or is that
something,
up to each individual store owner's responsibility?
my interpretation of our ordinance as it stands today is that the village is under no obligation to clear the downtown area. It's something that we have done as a courtesy for the past forever to the local businesses and the residents. And until our equipment to do that has failed, has it made us reconsider our position on that. So is there a requirement? I think the interpretation of the ordinance is no. So if we buy this equipment, could it be seen as petty of the village to not clear the DDA district
Okay, but
for withholding funds? Sure.
in my opinion, if I, as a taxpayer, spent $60,000 so that the village could clear the sidewalks, are they gonna come and clear my sidewalk too? Because I paid for that machine.
It's a valid point, and under the current ordinance, it does read that residents and business owners are responsible for clearing the sidewalks in front of the properties.
Then
that
we
they own.
don't need any snow removal equipment.
I don't disagree.
I mean, as tight as our budget is, I can't see spending 60 grand on something that they're gonna, you know, as they say, use maybe 3 or 4 times to clear snow and, you know, a couple of times to cut the grass at the lagoons.
Mhm.
And then anytime they wanna use something else, they gotta spend 8, 10 grand on an attachment.
Dan, I don't disagree with you. I mean, you're making the argument that I've been saying for the past 2 years, that the village is not under any obligation to clear those sidewalks.
And we really don't have the money to.
Correct.
We're responsible for our sidewalks that we own, you know, around the, city offices here.
City offices, the bridge.
We got our bridge, you know, so we have some areas that we are responsible for. And I do believe our ordinance also states, because I know I have the door hanging tags, that after, was it 24 or 48 hours after a significant snowfall,
Mhm.
you know, the DPW is responsible for tagging homeowners that have not cleared their sidewalks.
Right. And historically, I do not believe that
Right,
we've enacted that
but,
authority very often.
Right, but if that happens,
But
that
it's-
homeowner also gets charged for it.
yep, yep. So then we have to have a way, if they don't clear the sidewalk, then we have to do it. You know, so our ordinance is there. Where are we gonna sidestep the ordinance and where are we not? Because he made a very valid point.
Right.
Homeowner calls, I want my sidewalk done.
Which is why I would like to see those two main things of what's our Dewey's worth and what will the DDA contribute to that piece of equipment, because at the end of the day, if we can sell an aging asset to purchase something newer that's going to be more functional and get assistance affording it where the village portion is substantially less, and it's more affordable, then I could make that argument. But to Dan's point, you know, if the village has to foot this bill solely on their own.
Yep.
And there's not a significant contribution from selling the Deweys, I don't think we can justify it.
Correct. And then also, any snow removal activities that take place in the DDA, we keep track of those hours, and those get billed to the DDA account. That's how it was last winter, or I was informed of that. But, you know, that's why if you're gonna give 30,000, we buy the equipment, that 30,000 sits in the fund, and then, you know, I spend 2 hours a night clearing your snow.
What properties are you stating?
What's that?
What properties are you stating that you clear that are DDA?
I'm just using just a rough estimate, you know.
Right.
Just like,
Properties in the DDA
Yeah.
district.
Oh, that's still.
but it's not anything significant. I'm just trying to make sure we're having a conversation and covering all our bases here.
Right. I mean, the only reason I was quiet on this was the fact that what we approved was the idea, that President Hitchcock originally presented, which was the side-by-side, because we could justify that because our money can only be spent in the DDA district. That's the only way that we can fund things. So when the side-by-side was proposed, we could justify that for clearing the snow, of course, downtown, clearing our parking lot that we're working on building, clearing the building that we're currently renovating, and then as well as allowing our usage of that equipment during like Farmers Field Day and like the events downtown to facilitate putting barricades up and all that stuff. With obviously then general purpose being, you know, left to you guys in your discretion. So basically what would have to happen is I'd have to come back to the DDA board. We'd have to re-vote on, you know, if this is what you decided, and then we have to figure out a way that we can propose it so it serves, so we can justify the cost that offsets it.
See, none of that was communicated to me about the other usage. I
Yeah.
was just told snow.
Right, yeah, I mean, that was generally, yeah, I mean, so that was our general thought.
But I personally feel before we make any decisions on purchasing equipment, we need to figure out what we're doing with our ordinance. Because
Well, I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed. I think it's pretty clear, cut and dry as it is. It's, you know, with whatever gets purchased, if anything, if that's used to clear sidewalks in the DDA or the TIF district, that's really strictly a courtesy that the village or the DDA would be extending to those businesses as a continuation of a long-standing history of doing so.
So then, when we have a homeowner call and wants their snow removed, how do we justify saying, nope?
Well, it would have to be charged.
So,
Because
I'm just trying to make sure we're covering our bases
yeah,
here.
under the current ordinance, it's up to the property owner, be that a private individual or a business, it's their responsibility to clear the sidewalks, in front of or on those properties.
So do we charge the businesses too?
We have not, no.
Is there any thoughts entertained about charging the businesses? I mean, for that matter, buy every business a snow shovel.
Not to the best of my knowledge, I don't know that there's been discussion of that. I see, Josh, you're shaking your head no.
No, there hasn't been. I mean, traditionally, if you look down Grand River corridor, every single municipality takes care of their Grand River sidewalks.
Yep.
They all do. So, I mean, I don't know if I had to do a safe routes to school, if that was a requirement at one point. The other thing that I've been told even by, my personal attorney, was the sidewalk isn't, you know, other places, the sidewalk's owned by the actual, property owner, and it's an easement that grants it. Well, when they did Grand River, they took all the way to the business fronts. And because they wanted allowing for expansion down the road, where that's technically not my property as soon as it goes outside the front of my building. So I don't know 100% of that. But I also know there's a difference between, again, you go to Williamson, follow line them, and, you know, their DPW's keeping I think Williamson does all the way to their schools. Like they have general routes to school that they keep clean for the kids. That's obviously a safety concern. Obviously here it won't be that hard, because obviously just literally go down Grand River and Main. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's generally like, I mean, everyone else is pretty clear, but smaller community. But that's the thought process. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I mean, we've fended for ourselves the last couple of years, like everyone downtown. But we also have some businesses that aren't currently like operating.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, a couple times I've plowed snow, or pushed snow. Max has done it, Max salted downtown, and
In these past 2 years where we haven't had equipment to do so, we've had very mild winters.
yeah.
So it realistically has not proposed or presented that big of an issue.
So if we don't buy anything, we'll have mild winters continuing.
Is that an option?
Yeah. Usually the other way around.
Yeah, if you build it or if you buy it, it will come. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't see, you know, I mean, I can't speak for the DDA board. So, I mean, I can present it and I can see what portion realistically we can justify that will serve the downtown, but then that becomes another thing, because it kind of sounds like there was a little quid pro quo going on with this too. Then I would be concerned because if we pay for a majority of the equipment and then that doesn't get taken care of,
Right.
then all of a sudden we have justification with treasurer of like, hey, you bought this equipment and they're not taking care of what you.
Well,
So we're probably gonna have to, if we do that, unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to do some sort of a contract saying, hey, we're doing this, which we're gonna have to do a revenue sharing agreement anyway and adjust our plan, and then public hearing and all that stuff every time we do anything with the plan.
well, and realistically, the DDA owns quite a bit of property now in the village that would require clearing that the DDA is responsible for.
Yeah,
If the DDA really wanted to, they could circumvent the council and just purchase their own garden tractor or quad with a plow, or even contract that out and say, we're not interested in cooperating with the village any longer on snow removal.
yeah, which I mean, historically, I would prefer not to do that, because I mean, we have actually helped the village a lot with certain things. I mean, we paid for the recertification of a bunch of stuff with the bucket truck years ago. I think like 3 or 4 years ago, it was, I think, tune of like $11,000 or something that we had to pay because obviously you guys put up our banners and again, we were able to justify that cost because you guys used to do a lot of stuff for us.
Right.
So, I mean, in grand scheme of things, village and DDO, same, general entity.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's all for the better of the residents and the taxpayers, and that's what we're here for, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, Josh, would it be maybe appropriate or advised for Ryan to attend the next DDA meeting if he's available to kind of explain what he's proposing? Is that something that you would welcome, or?
Yeah, if he brings donuts.
You've been
They talked about
volunteering.
donuts earlier. No, that's completely fine if he has the time.
Yeah, if that's something you want to do, Ryan.
I can, I mean,
If not, I'm more than happy to advocate it for you.
Yes.
Like I said, at this point, it's just more of a procedure of, the DD has to approve it, and then we have to figure out a way to
Yeah.
justify it.
I mean, the one thing that I would
Shouldn't be.
bring up in favor of this that the DDA ought to consider is that if the vent track were purchased, it's not only the potential for snow removal that the TIF district would be gaining, it would also be street sweeping
Right.
with the brush.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking when you said that part of it.
Right.
So, I mean, that does put a good caveat in there.
Right.
All right, well, since we're not really proving anything right now, do we want to just,
Yeah, there's no need for a motion, it's just a discussion. So,
right?
DDA meets this Monday?
I don't know. My phone's recording.
Oh. So,
It is.
I'll text you.
So Josh, you'll talk to the DDA and coordinate with Ryan, and then Ryan in the meantime for next meeting.
Josh and I will work together.
It'll be coming up Monday.
Could you bring maybe an estimated value of what we think the duty is currently worth?
Yep.
Please?
Yep.
Thank you. So the new agenda item number 4, cancellation of the new dump truck order. So, I have not talked to Brad about this.
I have.
You have?
Yes.
So I'm assuming the cancellation is official?
Yes, we sent a letter, to the truck
Point of
dealer.
order,
Excuse me?
point of order. Why was there communication to cancel the truck when this body discussed it, approved it, voted on it?
That would have to be discussed with Brad. I can't answer that
Yeah,
question.
let's table this until Brad's back in town.
I just know
Well,
like,
It's like Groundhog Day all over again.
Well, there's nothing to table or discuss. I mean,
No.
Brad had Jessica put in cancellation, which I now understand
It's
is
been canceled.
recognition.
at no financial obligation to the village. After that last meeting, to my understanding, it was just in the best interest.
Why?
To my understanding, because we have a lot of uncertainties right now
Well, frankly, we can't afford it looking at this budget.
and, right.
That was our point in the beginning.
I just know I was in the office when he signed the cancellation letter, and he had mentioned to me that it is canceled. So,
That was our point in the beginning. We didn't need it. But he pressed and pressed and pressed. He had to have it. And now all of a sudden, nope.
so it's been canceled, no financial obligation to the city. We don't owe anything, we have no penalties.
Yeah, I know in the brief discussion that I did talk to Brad about this, is the deadline for us to commit was fast approaching. So I think he was kind of under the gun to make a decision before he had a chance to bring it to council. And especially in light of these budget amendments, I think it's painfully obvious that there's not $230,000 anywhere. It's just the fact matter of it. Even running the numbers on financing, assuming good interest rates at 7% over 6 years, on a $230,000 note is still $50,000 of interest. That's terrifying. So last item, number 5, lagoon improvements. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
aren't we supposed to do the resignation for Skip?
Nope,
We
that
don't have
was,
to do any of that?
that was omitted from the agenda.
Oh, okay, that's what we did with those?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
So Ryan, do you wanna give us a synopsis of these lagoon improvements that you're proposing?
On the lagoon improvements, we're working on two things right now. Our road surface between lagoons 1 and 2, it's in the very back. That was noted by Eagle last fall that the road should probably be improved. So we received 3 quotes from RC Excavating, Culver Excavating, and Jason Sebastian. He's the individual that did what, Apple Lane
And Tech Drive.
Tech Drive. Sebastian, you know, is a known contractor. Sebastian came in at the lowest, so Brad, I think because it's considered emergency repairs and the money was there, Brad said do it. His equipment is sitting at our facility, he's just kind of waiting on weather right now, fill in.
Is that under this year's budget or next year's budget as part of the improvements?
This year's.
This year's, okay.
Yep, this is happening before April 1.
Right.
Sebastian came in under, he's using actually the millings that came off of Apple and Beach and North Main Street. There's a large amount of road millings sitting at our facility right now. He's gonna use those, so he's able to save us a lot of money. So that's being done because we have to keep Eagle happy. Second one is,
I'm sorry, real
oh,
quick.
yes, go ahead.
Will that firm up that road where
Yes.
it's good for
Yep.
a while? Okay.
It's actually not a road surface, it was more of just a lagoon dike from when they built the ponds. They never put in a road bed there, so it's just clay. So when it's wet, it's wet. When it's dry, it's dry. Well, Eagle was there when it was wet. So whatever, like I said, they didn't give us a violation on it. They just noted it. Said, you know, the road surface was saturated. So my fear is if they come back again and it's saturated, then they're gonna get the fence out. So, Sebastian's gonna dig down about 8 inches, remove clay, fill it in. He's got his compactor there, so he's gonna basically build it like he's building a road. So, you know, this summer when Eagle comes back, because we're gonna get a new district engineer at some point, district engineer will come in to everybody in their district and they'll start writing, suggestions. I don't think we would get any violations, but this was noted, so we have to address it. Second one is fencing. We have to improve the front of our facility. We have to have better security. Our gate cannot be left open all day long, allowing anybody to just drive on in. So I reached out to 6 companies, 2 responded. I was informed by Justice Fence Company that they are hearing that a lot of people are only wanting to stick to residential jobs, not wanting to get involved with commercial fencing. So it is what it is. Received 2 quotes, 213 feet of 6-foot tall fence. It's gonna go across our facility. It's gonna add on to the current fence that's there at our main gate and head to the west, which is just livestock fencing. You can step over it. There's 0 security there. It's also with a electric gate opener. That way the gate will remain closed. I've already purchased a sign to hang on said gate. For any access, they'll have to call city-owned cell phone number. You know, I'm not there and that gate's closed. They'll have to call and say, hey, you know, this is so-and-so from XYZ company. I'd like access to your facility. So Justice Fence came out. They are the low bid of the 2. This is something I spoke with Caitlin about. This is something that we can proceed with right now. We don't have to wait for April 1st because this is also part of our lagoon compliance schedule with Eagle. So,
I'm sorry, say that again, that this fence would be done under this year's budget,
Yep.
not next year's?
Yep, because the money's there. Caitlin said we can capitalize it, spread it out, whatever. Do
Out of
whatever.
the sewer budget?
Yep, out of sewer. This is all for sewer. Since we don't have individual fences around each individual lagoon, our main property fence counts as our sewer compliance. And it does state from Eagle that we have to be fenced. So up front, this is gonna be our best bet. Justice Fence will supply the fencing. DPW, we will install conduit to run the electric line through. That way it's protected. It's not gonna be a direct buried electrical line. I'm gonna bury it in 1-inch conduit, run the wire. That way we have electricity at the gate. So the 2 quotes came in. There's roughly, I don't know, like $7,000 difference after it's all said and done. Justice Fence, in my opinion, is who we should do it through. They're based right out of Howell. And he said as soon as we sign the quote, they can get started on it. Because we have to keep Eagle happy. Like I said, they're gonna come back this summer. And I wanna do everything I can to keep them happy. So they pull in, see electric gate that's closed with signage, you know, right off the bat, hey, we're looking good.
So you said, does this have an option that you said for remote, somebody can call you if
Yep.
they're, and say, hey, can you let me in?
Yep.
Does that include video at all, so you can verify that
No video.
it says they are who they say they are?
No video.
Okay.
So each truck will have basically a garage door opener. Push button, pull up, gate will open. They'll give you X amount of time to get through it, gate will close. It has safety loops that get installed in the ground to make sure nobody is stuck in the gate, no car or anything like that. I would put a weatherproof lockbox with a combination lock on it with an opener in it in case Brad, contractor, somebody has to get in and out and I'm not there, or DPW staff's not present, somebody that's trusting, they can have that code so they can push that button to open the gate. It's how every community that has these, that's how they do it. So,
Yeah, and I will say, I've driven by other communities, wastewater lagoon treatments, and what Ryan's proposing is very similar.
yeah,
So-
Yeah.
Brian,
yes.
did you ever think about possibly putting like a ring camera out there so that you can monitor who's actually at the gate?
Security cameras are step 2 in my multi-step plan for the facility. Right now, I'm trying to do things that I can do very quickly.
Great things to, for compliance, I understand.
Yeah.
I was
So
just curious, because you said there was no camera yet.
that is on phase 2. So yes, thank you for that.
And maybe our IT provider could help us in phase 2.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
I'd probably suggest actually running, 1.5 inch, because then we can actually feed a line through it.
Yeah.
Because then you can actually, direct wire, that way it's more secure.
Can you put a comm line in a run for electrical?
You should be able to.
Yep.
Yeah.
If not, I'll just run 2 of them side by side and just,
Right. I know that's what I did for my barn, is I ran electric and.
if I'm digging, it's
Separate.
conduit's dirt cheap, at the end of the
Yeah,
day. you
That's
know.
true.
I would lay 2 side by side and have one there for future expansion, whatever,
Yeah, it's not a bad idea anyway.
Yeah.
Just in case you have an
Yeah.
accidental break or something in the conduit and it kills the wire, you have another one.
Yep.
So, those are the lagoon improvements. I don't think this has to be voted on because it's part of the emergency compliance stuff and the money's there, but
And I think Brad,
You guys
I think Brad has a $25,000
Yep.
discretionary
yeah, so,
spending.
you know, we got our quotes. So the road's being done, fence. Bought I can't remember what it was, you'll see it on next month's credit card bill. We bought a new pole saw to help with trimming trees around our fences. Milwaukee 18 volt, bought that from Home Depot. Because we can't get the bucket truck down those hills, so we have to build trim trees from the ground.
You could, you just can't get it back up.
We'll get it down there. So, it's just an ongoing thing.
Josh, do you have a question?
I was just suggesting, since you guys are all here, it would make sense just to vote on that, right? Not really a reason to use an emergency, might as well just vote on it.
We can certainly do that.
Just to clean it up.
I don't disagree. Probably for 2 separate items, probably ought to be 2 separate motions, one for the road and one for the fence.
Don't ask me the number on the road.
I thought there's an,
Is there a handwritten quote in here?
there's an email from Jay Sebastian. It says, Brad, sorry I haven't gotten
Oh,
back
yep.
sooner, our internet's been down after the
Yep, right
storm.
there.
Price for removing soil, placing on-site asphalt millings, removing the culvert, and grading the road between two back lagoons is $11,800.
Yep.
Is there enough millings there to do that?
Yeah.
Are they just doing the road going in, or are they doing all the roads?
No, on the very back between ponds 1 and 2, just the main road separating those 2 ponds. All the others are actually actual gravel road surfaces. This one was never built.
Yeah, I thought they were doing all the roads back
Does,
there.
an Eagles all right with millings?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, there is no actual road standard.
I just asked, I remember like with our parking lot, the drain commission has to have us have a whole basin.
Yeah.
So that holds any runoff of actual like this, even the asphalt.
I can tell you exactly where the runoff's going.
So that's where we're at on lagoon improvements. I know Deb just walked out, I don't know if you wanna get a vote going. That way
Yeah,
we
we'll
can get
riff
out
here for a few minutes until she returns.
So yeah, anyways, I think we're making Eagle happy, and I think, like I said, we're getting things cleaned up around there. I don't know how much scrap's gonna come out of there, but like I said, I have a 20-yard dumpster coming. And then we're actually gonna hand pick through, because all of the old water meters are buried in there, and there's a lot of brass.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a lot of brass and a lot of copper laying in there, so we're gonna haul that separately, because it'll be 1 dump truck load.
Yep.
And that'll bring more money at the scrap yard. So, once I get all the actual steel out, you know, that whole area around that old salt barn is gonna be cleaned up. Because then when we do get our inspections this summer, we're gonna come in and see that we have a nice, neat, clean facility.
Good.
Gonna rebuild the life ring boxes that are out there, because those are, I was kind of checking those out the other day, and I don't want to get nailed on something as simple as a life ring. I mean, we have to have them, nobody's swimming in it, but.
What about
they
that?
have to have them.
What about that skiff?
The boat, I was probably gonna check with Moore's Farm Repair, because I do believe he can TIG weld. You know, we'll fill it with water and I'll find all the leaks and circle them and say, here, weld here.
And slap some
You know.
paint on that maybe.
All right, I think I saw on TV somewhere, you can just spray that spray paint on
Yeah,
there.
I saw that.
There's
Just
some
get a
Flex Seal,
couple-
you know.
Yeah, Flex Seal.
Rust-Oleum, is that what we're using?
I have a safety item list going. I do gotta get a couple of life jackets. Gotta have them if we go out in the boat.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's nothing that we're doing for pleasure, but sometimes we have to get out there to get to our solar V mixers. So, you know, it's an ongoing thing, and the goal is to make sure we're in compliance, because, being proactive is a whole lot cheaper than being reactive.
That's right.
All right, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve the Justice Fence Company quote as per letter dated 3/8/24 in the amount of $15,468.86.
Second,
Second by Lana, roll call please.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Stanfield, yes. Walter,
Yes.
Hitchcock is absent. Schulte,
Yes.
And
Motion
then
approved.
the road one, I will make a motion to approve the amount of $11,800 for the road by J. Sebastian Trucking in the email dated Friday, March 1st, 2024.
second.
Thank you, roll call please.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Stanfield, yes. Walter,
Yes.
Hitchcock is absent. Schulte,
Yes. Okay, motion's approved. Josh, I appreciate your input on that, it was a good suggestion. With that brings us to the end of our new business. Is there anything,
I got something for you. Caitlin actually emailed me while we were meeting. Said this is info on Highview. Village office renovation is only 30K of the 101 capital outlay remaining as the paving project.
okay. So.
I do have the cost of that, the paving project too, if you want that.
I gotta go back and find my budget. Thank you for emailing Caitlin while we were here.
Oh, I didn't email her. She emailed me.
You could have taken credit.
No, I don't do that. I was actually pretty surprised when I looked down, because I usually don't check my phone. I was like, Caitlin.
Okay, so how much is the road?
The road, Business Park roads, except first 1,500 feet of Highview Drive participating, is $345,116. The first 1,500 feet of Highview Drive non-participating is $254,220. The expected grant funding is $170,000.
Wait, that 15 sections, $250,000?
Sounds about right.
Oh, because that's redoing it, not just paving it. Right?
Starting from scratch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you said the remaining 30,000 is for the village office?
Yes,
Okay,
that's what Caitlin said. Thank you, Caitlin. That's what I'm watching.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Rolanda, does that
Yes, thank you.
sufficiently answer?
Yes,
Yeah, and then Josh, I don't know if you can talk to the DDA about what the contribution may look like in 24. I think that really ultimately needs to happen so we can have a finalized budget proposal for next meeting.
Yeah, we'll, I'll put it on the agenda. I'm sure Jessica's gonna watch this, so she can put it on her agenda. And then we'll vote, and then obviously we have to go through the plan amendment process again too. So that means the sending out to public that we're adjusting the plan and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
But that's not, so just what we have to do every time.
Yep, it's
I
normal.
don't see it being a problem.
Okay. Were there any questions that came in from the live feed?
Nope. No check.
None?
None.
Anything else from the council before we adjourn? Okay, is there a motion?
I will make motion to adjourn at 8:09 PM.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, that went really well.